Hola, and welcome to another episode of the UEFA Champions League review on the Al Media Sports channel on YouTube, on X, on Facebook, on Instagram, as well as on TikTok. My name is Josah. So, match day 3 of the UEFA Champions League phase actually happened. Tuesday games, there were some mouth-watering, very, very entertaining games. And we'll be reviewing these games, game by game to see which players were standout performers, which teams also actually surprised their fans, and then also which teams are really gunning for the tournament, even in the early days. So let's begin from what was arguably the biggest game of the round on Tuesday, where Arsenal hosted Atletico Madrid at the Emirates. It was a game that everyone actually thought that would be a very, very difficult one for Arsenal. For Atletico Madrid, it was their second trip to England after visiting Liverpool and losing at the Anfield on match day 2 by 3-2. So it was a narrow defeat to Liverpool. So everyone thought, that game would perhaps be a very, very keenly contested one, a close one between Arsenal and then also Atletico Madrid. But then on the day, after 90 minutes, tell you what, Arsenal really showed class. And now people are beginning to tip them as favourites to win the UEFA Champions League, which is quite surprising, though, looking at the other teams also vying for the same competition. Now, there are the likes of Bayern Munich, there's the likes of Manchester City that looks rejuvenated. Not just that, but then PSG, the defending champions as well. And there's Real Madrid. So there are some giants already making strides in the competition. But then, pundits and even the bookmakers believe that Arsenal have got what it takes to win the UEFA Champions League ahead of most of these teams. And, even with that statement win against Atletico Madrid, Arsenal are really, really making a statement to the rest of the world and the rest of the 35 teams that are playing in this year's UEFA Champions League that, we are ready to win it. So they just didn't win in style, but then, there were trademarks of what they do and they do best because they scored 2 of their goals from set pieces, which is something we've really known Arsenal for. So a free kick, which was headed in by Gabriel, and a corner kick, which was also turned home by Victor Gilloise. And then also from open play, we saw Miles Lewis Kelly being volatile down the middle, assisting a couple of goals. So, for Arsenal, in totality, it was a very good game for them. But it is the positives we're picking from the game, where Victor Gilloise also broke that goal-scoring drought for both club and country after scoring a double in that game against Atletico Madrid. Gabriel also returned, and for Gabriel, he's the highest-scoring defender in European top 5 leagues in the last 2-3 seasons. What a defender he's been for Arsenal within that time. So Arsenal managed to walk away with all 3 points, and as we speak, they are yet to concede a goal in the UEFA Champions League. They are yet to even drop points in this season's UEFA Champions League after winning their first 3 games. But then to put 4 past Atletico Madrid, one of the meanest and tightest defenses in Europe, tells you that this Arsenal team has really grown over the last couple of years. And, it's not just, a fluke for people to think that they are real contenders. Sometimes they've been tagged as contenders, but they end up being pretenders. But this time, maybe Mikel Arteta would really deem, this team and this performance as that springboard that actually elevates them to win other games. So Arsenal winning by 4-0 against Atletico Madrid is actually, my pick of the pack. It was an interesting game. I really enjoyed that game. And I know if you're an Arsenal fan, you're looking at this team, you're looking at Gilloise, you're looking at Eze. Martinelli looks like, a new player. You have the likes of Zubimendi, there's Saliba and his partner Gabriel, and then David Raya. And you think this is the team that could land Arsenal's first UEFA Champions League crown ever. Now, in other games played, Barcelona also kicked off very early against Olympiakos. It was a good game for Barcelona, but then you'd always expect that Barcelona would go guns blazing in a game like this. So they put 6 past Olympiakos. Olympiakos could only respond with a single goal in a game where there were some positives as well for Barcelona, especially for a young Fermin Lopez who managed to get a hat-trick in the game. So he walked away with the match ball, which is quite some good news because in the absence of Lewandowski, Marcus Rashford led the lines for Barcelona. Fermin Lopez played as a number 10. and he was on the score sheet, not just scoring, but scoring 3 times in the game, which is quite fascinating if you're a Barcelona fan, or even Hansi Flick watching from the touchline, seeing these young boys blossom, and play some, exciting football would definitely bring joy to his face. But then not just that, the other positive has to do with Marcus Rashford netting his 4th goal in 3 games in the UEFA Champions League this season. Yes, you heard it right. Marcus Rashford has scored 4 goals already in 3 appearances in the UEFA Champions League this season. And, this guy was just trying all he could to get the 3rd goal, at least to also walk away with the match ball. But then that didn't happen. Lamine Yamal also managed to get a goal from the penalty spot. He also assisted the first of 3 goals for Fermin Lopez to also put up a very, very good show. But then for Barcelona, the only thing that really is haunting them now is the fact that they still keep conceding goals, which is not nice for them. Over the weekend, it was a 2-1 win over Girona. Now it's a 6-1 win. So even if Barcelona are scoring goals, their headache has to be with the fact that they are still conceding goals, which is a real problem for this team. So a 6-1 win for Barcelona. Fermin Lopez with a hat-trick, Marcus Rashford with a double, and then also Lamine Yamal with a goal and an assist was really, something to talk about. Not just that, we move to the other game where the defending champions of the UEFA Champions League also put up, an impressive performance. It was a statement win as well because PSG traveled all the way to Germany at the Bay Arena and they put 7 past Bayer Leverkusen. And this is quite shocking, especially looking at the fact that the likes of Ousmane Dembele isn't even around, but then they still managed to get lots and lots and lots of goals. In a game where PSG had a player sent off in Ilya Zabani, Bayer Leverkusen also had a player sent off in Andrich, then it tells you that, yes, playing against, or playing, both teams play with 10 men would always be difficult for each other because that would lead to some tactical tweak and then also some weaknesses in certain areas. But then for PSG, they saw the likes of William Paku score, Desiree Dié also got some of the goals, Nuno Mendes, Dembele also returned, and then there's also Vitinha also scoring. So if you talk about Arsenal beating Atletico Madrid by 4-0, perhaps you could also talk about PSG, a team that has been so emphatic so far this season in UEFA Champions League. After winning last season at the expense of Inter, they start the season, on a very, very strong note. And 7 goals so far after also beating Barcelona on Matchday 2. This is clear intent that, Luis Enrique and his charges are not sleeping yet because they believe they still have what it takes to win this game or to win the title again. Because going to Bayer Leverkusen, putting 7 past them, that is an impressive 10 out of 10 performance from Paris Saint-Germain, walking back to Paris in France with 3 points. Now, the other game played would really interest you, and that was where Jose Mourinho returned to England in the space of about a month after playing against Chelsea on Matchday 2 of the UEFA Champions League. They returned back, but this time they were in Tyneside against Newcastle United, led by Eddie Howe. And trust me, it was a game that was always going to be difficult for Jose Mourinho. It was always going to be difficult for Jose Mourinho because this is a Newcastle team that are fearless, they are dauntless, they are so courageous and relentless. And in a game like this, Newcastle so far this season has only lost 1 game, and that came on Matchday 1 against, a quality Barcelona side. But then you take nothing away from this Newcastle side. They put 3 past Jose Mourinho's Benfica. So Anthony Gordon scored his 4th of the Champions League season, and then also Harvey Barnes added a double, which meant that Newcastle will walk away with all 3 points. Interesting result for them. But for Jose Mourinho and his side, Benfica haven't still beaten an English opposition since 2006. That's fascinating. And then for Jose Mourinho, his side, so far this season, are winless in their first 3 games of the UEFA Champions League season. And they sit bottom of the 36-team league. This is unimpressive. This is what you do not want to hear, especially if you're a Jose Mourinho fan or a follower of Jose Mourinho. Perhaps some people are saying that his tactics seem to be outmoded. Some people are saying that, anti-football is something that wouldn't thrive now because Jose Mourinho isn't that coach who would allow his team members or his players to play that free-flowing attacking football. But unfortunately, that was it. They were put to the sword, and Jose Mourinho could be in hot waters as we speak because Benfica are still winless in 3 games in the UEFA Champions League this season. Now, to some more results, we saw PSV also put 6 past Napoli. Now, you talk about Benfica perhaps losing, then I think this would be the most shocking result so far for me, because this is a PSV team that are winless as well. And all of a sudden, Napoli appears at the Philips Stadion in Eindhoven, and they managed to put 6 past them. Ironically, PSV took the lead first in that game, but then that goal was chalked off. Napoli then came on. They scored the opening goal. PSG came from that goal, led by 2-1, and then from there, they never, ever looked back. For Napoli, their hero on the day had to be Scott McTominay, but then his 2 goals wouldn't really mean much after they lost by 6-2. And for PSV, it's just the best way for them to bounce back. They had almost, 5 scorers or 5 players scoring 6 goals for them, which is quite a good sign of a team that has got, the workload of scoring goals scattered across or even shared amongst the players. But for PSV, this is a big win for them. And after that win, it sees them rise all the way to 11th place. That's also pending other games that are set to be played on Wednesday and then also on Thursday. But for Napoli and Antonio Conte, he still needs, to try and maybe refute with his performances, those claims, that narrative. He needs to debunk it that he's not good as far as cup games is concerned, because we've not really seen him make a mark in the UEFA Champions League. Domestically, Antonio Conte is a top coach, but then in Europe or even in other cup games, we've not really seen the best of Antonio Conte. Now, Inter Milan, also from Italy, managed to travel all the way to Belgium. They put 4 past Union Saint-Gilloise in a game that you'd always expect Inter Milan to win. It was an easy game for them. The likes of Denzel Dumfries, Lautaro Martinez, and then also Hakan Çalhanoğlu all on the score sheet for Christian Chivu's side. It was just an easy game for them, perhaps. Yeah, there are no easy games, but then they made it so easy for themselves, scoring 2 in the first half, then adding 2 more in the second half to wrap up that 4-0 win for Inter Milan. And they also slowly trying to build something after a very slow start to the season. They've not really been so impressive domestically, but then the other day, it was a 1-0 win over Roma, and they topped that up with that 4-0 win over Union Saint-Gilloise, which gives them the impetus going forward. Now, I'll end with that game at the Estadio de la Ceramica, where Villarreal also lost to Manchester City. Now, there's always one thing that's certain, or maybe 3 things: debt, taxes, and then also Erling Haaland getting a goal. So he continued with that incredible streak of scoring goals for club and country, scoring for the 12th consecutive time for either Norway or for Manchester City. He scored the first of 2 goals, and then later on we saw Bernardo Silva also adding up to the tally for Manchester City to walk away with all 3 points from Spain. And that result sees them now on 7 points. That's quite impressive. They are now in the automatic qualification spot, which is quite good for a team like Manchester City. But for Pep Guardiola, there's still more troubles. There's still, quite a lot of challenges he needs to navigate. Because especially with this City team, you wouldn't tell me that they've really found their form. They're still doing things the right way, but then it will take time for this City team to gel. The likes of Ryan Cherki, Tijani Reinders, Nico Gonzalez, a couple of players in that team look new. Haaland is still, dragging this team to where they deserve to be. But then it's just a matter of time before the goals perhaps even dries up. But then, in the absence of Haaland, who gets the goal for them? Because for the first time in about 3 or 4 games, Bernardo Silva became just the different scorer for them. It's always been Erling Haaland. So perhaps they might still be counting on him. But for City, it's a good win. After dropping points on Matchday 2 away at Monaco, they returned back to winning ways away from home all the way at the Estadio de la Ceramica. It was also a goalless draw between Pafos and Kairat Almaty. Perhaps it was a game that no one thought any of these 2 teams could win. But then that's it. It's a wrap of all the games played on Tuesday in the UEFA Champions League. My team of the day definitely will be Arsenal with that performance. But then I wouldn't go for Arsenal now. I'll go for PSV with that win against Napoli. 6-2, they trust Napoli, and they've really proven that, yes, when it matters most, they can also get the win. Let me hear from you. Which teams actually impressed you the most on Tuesday's games that were played? 6 games. Which teams, really 8 games actually, which teams really put up a very, very good display for you? Let me hear from you. The comment section is always open. You can also, let us hear from you in the comment section. And then don't forget to subscribe to the channel. My name is Josah. This has been the Champions League review for the Tuesday games.